What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. We are here as we are every Monday to recap the Sunday slate, talk about all of those games, all of the fantasy implications, takeaways, big scorers, duds, all of that stuff, basically for your fantasy football team. As always, if this is your first time checking out the channel, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoy the content, and support the show those ways. Those mean a ton to us. So let's we're gonna kick this video off. We're gonna start with the Sunday night game. Now, typically we save the primetime game for last, but you guys know my Minnesota Vikings, we always start with that game first. We talk about the Vikings game, and I figure we should talk about them getting a big win on primetime. Speaking of big wins on primetime, if you guys want to get a big win on primetime yourself, we do have a free pick over with our friends at Underdog. They are going to be giving you this free pick for new customers that sign up this evening. Basically, to use that code, make sure you use code LEAGUEFFB. They will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash. If you sign up using that code, you will get that half a yard for Patrick Mahomes on primetime tonight. That will get yourself a big win, just like my Minnesota Vikings. Now, obviously, we are going to be talking about this game first. They did go out and score 0 points in the first half, end up winning this game 21-13. Joe Flacco, I guess, giving the Colts the best chance to win? Maybe not. They lose this one. They drop now to 4-5, and the Minnesota Vikings are now 6-2 on the season. I do see we got the Smitty in the chat. He says trade Ramondre and Laporta for Mostert and Bowers, or trade Ramondre for Amon-Ra. I'm looking to upgrade at wide receiver or tight end. Look, if you can trade Ramondre for Amon-Ra, that is a no-brainer. I don't know how you'll get that done, but that is a no-brainer. But now that we have that question asked and we have answered that one, we should talk about this game here for the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold, he goes 28 for 34, 290, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Like I said, a very sloppy first half of football. They still got the job done. Aaron Jones goes 21 for 64 on the ground. 3 yards a carry isn't great. Didn't find the end zone. Was used a little bit in the receiving game. Went 4 for 18 there, so that did help kind of save your fantasy football day. But really the big story was Justin Jefferson. He had the best day of all receivers. Obviously, he is the best receiver in football, so this probably is no surprise to anybody. But he goes 7 for 137. Doesn't find the end zone in this one. Still doesn't matter. He has like a 20-point fantasy football day for us. And then Josh Oliver, 5 for 58 and a touchdown. Addison, 5 for 42 and a touchdown. Lots of people getting involved. Hawkinson, pretty modest day in his first game back. Goes 3 for 27. Had a touchdown that got intercepted. Sam Darnold threw it a little bit underthrown in that first quarter where it was going right to TJ Hawkinson. You thought maybe TJ Hawkinson was going to score in his first drive back. It just didn't happen. But overall, the Vikings end up winning this one. And Justin Jefferson has a big day. Addison finds the end zone. Aaron Jones gets a lot of work but just didn't get the production. But let's talk about the Colts, man, because the Colts, like I mentioned, Joe Flacco, they said he gives them the best chance to win. He goes 16 for 27, 179, 0 touchdowns, and an interception. That doesn't feel like that is the best type of quarterback play to go out and get you a win. We all kind of felt like the benching of Anthony Richardson was very premature. It does feel very premature, and when you have Joe Flacco going out and doing stuff like this, I mean, you got to be looking at Anthony Richardson on the bench and saying, like, what the hell are we doing here? Why are we doing this? Because if Flacco's not winning games, then what's the point of benching Richardson and not letting him get development and reps at the NFL professional level? Jonathan Taylor goes 13 for 48, no touchdown. A very modest day for him as well. Josh Downs leads the way, 6 for 60. Alec Pierce, 3 for 41. Michael Pittman, 1 for 14. Very quiet day from him as well. Just really nothing going for the Colts. Downs continues to be a guy that keeps getting a ton of work, and he keeps getting a lot of receptions, and I think he's the most reliable fantasy football asset right now for the Colts. You probably can rely on him most weeks in your flex spot, your wide receiver 3 spot, probably outside of Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is by far the most desirable asset for the Colts, but yeah, man, just not a lot to go on here. This game was very slow in the first half. The Vikings kicked it up in the second half and ended up stealing this one after being down 0-7 at half. And everybody reminded us of the 0 to whatever. It was 0 to 33 in 2022 when they played the Colts and they came back and won. Still did it this one as well. Jacob says, should I trade Aaron Jones plus wide receiver 3 for JT? Also, would you trade Laporta or Hawkinson if the other team wants a tight end? Yeah, I'd be willing to do that for sure. Peanut Butter or Peanut Breath says, I'm 11 points away from beating my opponent. I'm 4-4. I really need this. Who do I use in my flex, Worthy or Bucky? I would rather play Bucky than Worthy, personally. But all right, guys, let's move on to the next game here. We are going to be going to this next one. It is going to be the Cowboys and the Falcons. First game on the slate for us, or I guess second game on the slate. You have the Falcons who win this one 27-21. Dallas falls to 3-5. Atlanta is now 6-3, the number 1 seed over there in the NFC South. Kirk Cousins goes 19 for 24, 222, and 3 touchdowns. He's been playing some really good football, man. If you've had him in your fantasy football teams, your dynasty leagues, whatever it may be, he's been playing some pretty good football. Bijan goes 19 for 86, doesn't find the end zone. He gets that stolen by Tyler Algier. This is the annoying thing about this Falcons offense. But that is going to be kind of the way that it goes for the Falcons so far. Darnell Mooney, he goes 5 for 88 and a touchdown. Bijan goes 7 for 59. Receiving, which is great for Bijan. If you can get 7 receptions and lead the way at the running back position, you're going to have a big day. Drake London, 2 for 27 and a touchdown in this one. He also gets hurt, does not finish the game. So he had a hip injury, and that's kept him out of the rest of the way. We'll see if that keeps him out another week. Kyle Pitts, 1 for 11, not really doing too much in this one. The Smitty says, can I get my question answered? We already answered it, actually, at the beginning of the stream, but I guess I can go back for it again. I really just said, if you can get Ramondre or if you can trade Ramondre for Amon-Ra, absolutely, that makes the most sense. I just don't know how you can get that done because that is not a fair deal, in my opinion. But yeah, if you can get Amon-Ra, go get it. For Dallas passing, yeah, Dak Prescott, who goes 18 for 24, 133 and a touchdown. He doesn't finish this game. He was ruled out with a hamstring injury. Actually, they were looking at his hand. They were kind of just tending to his hand in the medical tent is what it looked like to us, but then they ruled him out with a hamstring injury. We'll see if he gets held out even longer. But Cooper Kupp finished the way. He went 13 for 25, 115 and a touchdown. Dallas rushing, they go 12 for 75 with Rico Dowdle. No Ezekiel Elliott in this one. He was held out with disciplinary action because he was missing team meetings and a bunch of other stuff. So we'll see what happens with Zeke Elliott, but it was Rico Dowdle pretty much the rest of the way. And he also caught a receiving touchdown in this one that was kind of a bobble catch. Looked really complicated, to say the least, but it was really one of their only scoring opportunities in this matchup. Finishes it off with 5 for 32 and a touchdown there. Jalen Tolbert's the only other guy who got a touchdown, 3 for 19. And Ferguson leading the way, 771. If you have him in a tight end premium league, you're getting those extra points for the receptions. Jake Ferguson is definitely getting those points for you. He is hyper targeted in this offense. CeeDee Lamb, 8 for 47. Didn't follow up his big 35, 40-point performance last week the way that we wanted him to. But overall, big day from Bijan, big day from Darnell Mooney, good day from Jake Ferguson. Everybody else, whatever. We'll see what happens with these injuries here moving forward. Maybe Dak's going to miss a week. Maybe Drake London's going to miss a week as well. Would you trade Ramondre for Neighbors? Absolutely. I mean, I think these wide receivers are in a whole different tier level than what Ramondre is in right now. So let's go to the next game here. We got Dolphins, Bills. We'll look at this one. The Bills end up getting a walk-off field goal to help them win this game. It was Tyler Bass who ends up knocking this one down. Tua looked all right, man. They ended up dropping this one. They're 2-6. 27-30 was the score. Buffalo is now 7-2. I think right now Josh Allen is playing some of the best football of his career. Everybody is kind of getting the football around him. Khalil Shakir is involved. No Amari Cooper in this game. He missed this one with a wrist injury. Kincaid was getting the football. It's very spread out, so it's not great for fantasy football purposes. You have a lot of guys who are getting touches, but at the end of the day, Josh Allen, he's balling still for fantasy football teams, man. 25 for 39, 235, 3 touchdowns, an interception. On the ground, he goes 2 for 7, so that's not your typical rushing day from Josh Allen. James Cook goes 10 for 44 on the ground. Solid day from him. But Ray Davis, man. Ray Davis catches 2 footballs. One of them is 70 yards, a long of 63, and he scores a touchdown there as well. So he keeps getting used in the receiving game. If you look at his box score in fantasy land, you're going to say, hey, look, why did Ray Davis have 15, 20 points this week? That is why. 2 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. He really didn't do much on the ground. I mean, we just looked at it, 4 for 20. He's going to be a high-end handcuff for James Cook the rest of the way. James Cook obviously still involved in the receiving game, but like I said, it's spread out, man. You got Shakir with 6 receptions, Kincaid with 4 receptions, Matt Collins with 5 receptions, James Cook 5 receptions. Everybody involved except Keon Coleman, 1 for 21 today. It is what it is. If you do have Dalton Kincaid, you do like this number right here. You like those 10 targets. You love to see that. Obviously, you want to see him come down with more than 4 of them if you're getting 10 targets, but that's a great day for a tight end in fantasy football. Jacob says, Hawkinson or Laporta the rest of the season, thanks, and I hope you have a great day. Appreciate you. I hope you have a great day as well. I think I would lean Hawkinson over Laporta the rest of the way. Now, let's go over to the Miami side. Tua goes 25 for 28, 231, and 2. Achane, great day from him as well, 12 for 63 and a touchdown. Also in the receiving game, he goes 8 for 58 and a touchdown as well. So he gets it done both on the ground and in the air. As I've said it all offseason, or I guess all season now, when Devon Achane has Tua Tagovailoa in the lineup, he is a guy that has top 3, top 5 type of potential at the running back position. I think we're going to see this for the rest of the way. This is an absolute league-winning type of running back. I just think it's going to be nonstop elite usage from Devon Achane, both in the receiving and in the rushing game in this offense. Raheem Mostert, he goes 10 for 56. Tyreek Hill, this is a game where a lot of people were scared of the matchup. He goes 4 for 80, doesn't find the end zone. It's still a better day than he's been having in recent weeks, but it's obviously not the Tyreek Hill type of week that we want. Jalen Waddle actually goes 2 for -4 yards. That's because one big play, he ran like 25 yards backwards. It was one of the weirdest, most odd plays I've ever seen in my life, but he ran directly backwards, like 25 yards, lost all of his yardage for the day, but he scored a touchdown, and that was a touchdown that tied the game before Tyler Bass kicks the field goal. So definitely a weird day from Waddle. When you see him go 2 for -4 and a touchdown, you're like, how the hell did that happen? It's when you run directly backwards to the other end zone. That's what happens, bro. So, yeah, man, it's interesting to see what's happening right now. But Miami, they're going to keep getting better. There's lots of fantasy football options on this offense that you should still be seeking. The one specifically that I like the most, Devon Achane. So let's move on to this next game here. I am going to be going to the... What is that? The Raiders and the Bengals game. We had a pretty big game from Chase Brown in this one as well with no Zach Moss in the lineup. We'll talk about that. But the Raiders, they've gone on a firing spree right now. They fired a bunch of offensive coaches, Luke Getsy, quarterbacks coach, a couple other guys. A bunch of people are getting fired in Las Vegas right now. They dropped this one. They're now 2-7, 24-41. The Bengals are now 4-5. Joe Burrow and Chase Brown had some of the biggest fantasy days of the week. We'll talk about them first. Burrow goes 27 for 39, 251 yards, 5 touchdowns, and an interception. Now, Chase Brown gets 27 carries. Like I said, we did not have Zach Moss in this one. Zach Moss was out with an injury. It was fully Chase Brown, and Chase Brown delivered for fantasy football teams. 27 for 120. That's a ton of usage on Chase Brown. It's not great that he's getting this type of usage for his health, because he's not the type of running back that can take 27 carries, but you love to see that for fantasy purposes. And then in the air for Chase Brown, 5 for 37 and a touchdown as well. He finished with like 25, 26 points in your PPR leagues. Great day if you spot started Chase Brown. Now, Mike Gesicki led the way, 5 for 102. There's this narrative going around, and it adds up. Whenever T. Higgins is not in the lineup, if he's not playing, Mike Gesicki goes off. When T. Higgins is in the lineup, Mike Gesicki is mediocre. So it seems like to me, as long as T. Higgins is out, you can play Mike Gesicki in your tight end spot. So we'll look at that moving forward for sure. But, yeah, man, just overall an interesting day because Jamar Chase, he didn't have the big one. 7 for 43, no touchdown for him, but he still got 11 targets. Just a solid outing, I think, from the Bengals, but really the majority of the production was all guys that we were probably spot starting because of injury, Mike Gesicki and Chase Brown. Now, for the Raiders, like I said, a lot of people have been getting fired. Gardner Minshew got benched in this one again, this time for Desmond Ridder, because we know that Aiden O'Connell is out with injury. Minshew goes 10 for 17, 124, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Desmond Ridder comes in, goes 11 for 16, 74, and a touchdown. The Raiders, dude, they need to blow this up. They fired a lot of people. They didn't fire Antonio Pierce. I think Antonio Pierce needs to be one of the guys that gets fired. It's just not great for the Raiders right now with what they have. Madison goes 9 for 36. Zamir White goes 6 for 10, takes the touchdown. So if you started Madison, you're not happy. If you were crazy enough to start Zamir, he still didn't get a ton of work. So it's like there's nobody of value really in this Las Vegas running back room right now that we can rely on, especially if they're giving goal line touches to Zamir. Receiving-wise, Jacoby, he's been leading the way, 8 for 105. You can keep spot starting him as like a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 type of play. Brock Bowers, 5 for 45 and a touchdown. He is also a play that you're going to keep smash playing at the tight end position. But right now, if you're playing Raiders options, it's pretty scary outside of Jacoby and Brock Bowers. Those are really the only two guys that have enough floor to keep you afloat throughout the weeks. But everybody else, just low floor, low ceiling type of plays. Let's move on to this next game. We're going to talk about the Chargers and the Browns. And I got a little bit of pushback this week, man. I put out a video where I was talking about guys that I thought were risky starts. I made Cedric Tillman a risky start, and he still actually ended up going out and having a decent day. But a lot of the conversation was really just about how this Los Angeles Chargers team plays good defense and they play slow. Obviously, Tillman can still have a touchdown. He can still do things like that. That can save a fantasy football day. But the Chargers, they play slow and they play good defense. And I got a lot of pushback about the Chargers defense not actually being good. They held the Browns to 10 points. Whether you want to say that's because the Browns are a bad offense or the Chargers defense is actually good, I don't know. But they did end up dropping this one. The Chargers win 27-10. The Browns are now 2-7. The Chargers are 5-3. But Jameis Winston was leading the way for the Browns. Let's talk about the winning team first, though. We'll talk about Justin Herbert. He goes 18 for 27, 282, and 2 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins gets 14 carries for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. So if you played J.K. this week, that was a pretty decent play. Kamani Vidal, still the guy behind J.K. Dobbins, but nothing more than just a handcuff at this point. Receiving-wise, though, Quentin Johnston goes 4 for 118 and a touchdown. He was back in the lineup for the first time for a couple weeks. He's been injured. Ladd McConkey goes 5 for 64. Josh Palmer finds the end zone, 2 for 63 and a touchdown. And J.K. being involved as well. But right now, this Chargers passing offense is so condensed. There's really not a lot of options that they throw to. But it seems like Quentin Johnston and Ladd McConkey are the top two guys. McConkey plays a little bit more in that slot, that close to the line of scrimmage role when QJ is in the lineup. And QJ plays that deep threat, big play type of guy. So I think both of those guys right now, in the right matchups, you can play QJ as a flex. You can play Ladd McConkey as a low-end wide receiver 3, maybe a flex play most weeks. But like I said, the Chargers, they play a little bit slower football. They're just not throwing the football a ton. They play good defense. This is the way that they like to win games. Slow, methodical, long drives, wear you out type of football. That's what the Chargers play, that old-school type of football that Jim Harbaugh likes and Greg Roman likes. Now, for the Cleveland attack, Jameis Winston, 26 for 46, 235, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. This is the Jameis Winston experience, right? You get those games where last week he's throwing for 4 or 5 touchdowns, whatever it was, and then you get this week where he's throwing for 3 interceptions. It's up and down. This is why Jameis Winston has always been Jameis Winston. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. This one was probably one of those bad days. Nick Chubb gets 15 carries, 39 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. I said it on our start-sit stream because there was a lot of questions about Nick Chubb as to whether or not he is a valid play right now, and I still believe he is not a valid play most weeks. He's a player that we're probably leaving on our bench most weeks because his average, his efficiency when he's touching the football is not great. The offensive line isn't great in Cleveland right now. It's banged up still. He is still recovering from that knee injury. He's lacking some of the explosiveness, some of the power that he had. We love Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is a player that we want to root for, but right now, it's not a great environment for him to thrive for fantasy football purposes, and we saw it again here with that 2.6 yards per carry. For the receiving side, Cedric Tillman, he's still the guy that you want in this offense. I think you're obviously not playing him next week. The Browns are on bye, I think, this week. And then the week after that, he should have a good matchup. But 6 for 75, being used deep. He's obviously a red zone threat for him. He's scoring touchdowns in multiple weeks back to back to back. 11 targets there for him, 11 for Judy. Njoku, kind of a quiet day. Elijah Moore, a quiet day. Tillman's the guy that I want. If you're targeting any guy in this offense right now, it's Tillman. I'm trying to buy him in dynasty leagues. I think he's a buy in dynasty right now. If you can get people to give you him for a late second, I think I'm still interested in it. But that's kind of where we're at with this Browns team. Now, we do have a question from Oscar. He says, what's up, gang? Man, got to ask. It all seems like the Colts should have just let AR play. Offense didn't look any better. One-dimensional team with that guy, or Flacco out there. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree. I just said that. We talked about the game not too long ago, and you have to be looking at Joe Flacco and saying, like, does this guy really give us the best chance to win? Probably just throw AR back out there. I don't know, but Anthony says, I played Chubb over Dowdle. It's all good, man. It's all good. Dowdle, he's probably he has more receiving upside, so I kind of like him more. But let's go to this next game. We got the Patriots and the Titans. Now, this game was a fun one for the most part because we did get some overtime here. The Patriots, they end up losing, even though Drake May had some heroics. Tennessee wins 20-17. They're 2-6. New England's 2-7. Quite honestly, these are two teams that are most likely going to be playing for draft picks the rest of the way. But let's talk about Tennessee first. Mason Rudolph back under center. No Will Levis again. Goes 20 for 33, 240, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Tony Pollard, who was questionable coming into this one, didn't even log a full practice all week. Goes out there and gets 28 carries for 128 yards. Doesn't find the end zone, but holy hell. I mean, to not have a practice all week and get 28 carries, that's some pretty insane usage. But look, man, if he's healthy, he's going to get a ton of usage in there. Playoff schedule is really nice. So I think I'm still considering buying Tony Pollard right now as we approach the trade deadlines in our fantasy leagues. Calvin Ridley goes 5 for 73. Akine goes 5 for 50 and a touchdown. Vanette, all these other guys. You're really not starting anybody in this list here except for Calvin Ridley. And 5 for 73, we can live with it. Obviously not the week that we had last week where he had like 120-something yards in the first quarter. But that's where we're at, man. Dowdle over Chubb rest of the season? Probably. Devin says starters are Lamar, Henry, Mixon, CD, JSN. Should I upgrade getting ready for the playoffs? I mean, JSN's usage was unique. We haven't seen that type of usage from him before. You could wait and see if he does it a second week in a row, or you could try and sell high. I don't dislike the idea of selling high right now. And Oscar says, thanks, man. I just got in at work. Hey, it's all good, man. But let's talk about the Patriots. Drake May, he throws a touchdown with no time left on the clock to send it to overtime. They did not score in overtime, so they lose this one. But Drake May goes 29 for 41, 206 yards and a touchdown, 2 interceptions. He also on the ground, 8 for 95. That is an insane amount of rushing work from a quarterback. He's legitimately, I think he might be a QB1 for fantasy the rest of the way. The amount of work that he's getting running the football is insane. Stevenson goes 10 for 16, 1.6 yards a carry, but he finds the end zone, and he caught that last second, like, Hail Mary, not a Hail Mary, but it was like a last-ditch effort touchdown. So Stevenson had a day despite only going 1.6 yards a carry. He looked awful on the ground, but still had a day because he got in the end zone twice. Hunter Henry, he's a guy that you can keep playing at the tight end position, but everybody else, we're just not getting consistent work. Bourne's involved. Demario Douglas goes 7 for 35. 7 receptions in a PPR league is fine. 35 yards is mid as hell. Keyshawn Butte, Austin Hooper, a bunch of other guys getting involved. It's tough to trust anybody receiving. Really, I think outside of Hunter Henry right now. Hunter Henry is the guy that you really want in this offense at the tight end position. So not a bad day from Drake May, but not enough to get the job done at the end of it. So let's go to the Commanders and the Giants game. Jaden Daniels continues his takeover of the NFL as a rookie. Probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I think he's a lock for it at this point. 7-2, For the Washington Commanders, they win 27-22 against the New York Giants, who are now 2-7. They should most likely be looking for a change at quarterback sometime eventually. I can't imagine how much longer they keep throwing Daniel Jones out here because they're just not winning football games, man. But this is also a team that is not good on the offensive line. There's a lot of penalties every week. Defensively, they're undisciplined. There's a lot to work on here for the New York Giants. But Jaden Daniels, he goes 15 for 22, 209, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Rodriguez and Eckler are both involved in this one because Brian Robinson Jr., he tested his, I think it's a hamstring out pregame, didn't like it, ended up not playing. They split the work, 52 carries for Chris Rodriguez, 42 for Eckler. Eckler finds the end zone as well. So you probably had the opportunity. You probably had the opportunity to play Austin Eckler in your leagues if you had him. And if you did, you probably are okay with what he gave you because he found the end zone there. He got a decent amount of work. And then receiving-wise, he went 3 for 41. So not a bad day from Eckler. Noah Brown leads the way. Olamide Zaccheaus there. This is insane. 2 catches from McLaurin for 19 yards and 2 touchdowns. If you take the touchdowns away, we're talking about, obviously, I mean, that's very simple. But if you take those away, McLaurin had a horrible day, but for whatever reason, every time he caught the football yesterday, he was in the end zone. So, hey, we'll live with that. It doesn't matter how you get it as long as you get it. And that's what Terry McLaurin did. For the Giants, Daniel Jones goes 20 for 26, 174 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Not a bad – I said that, they can't keep rolling him out there. Thank you, Anthony. Can't keep rolling him out there every week, but he's not even playing – horrible football. It's just he's not playing good enough football, and we've known what Daniel Jones does at this point. Like, Daniel Jones isn't giving us great quarterback play at this point. So I don't know. It's funny. You have the disparity between like the Colts and the Panthers, where they get rookie quarterbacks, they play them for 1 year or not even a full year, whatever it may be, and then they're moving on and benching them and trying to go for Andy Daltons and Joe Flacco's. And then you have the Giants, who this guy was drafted in like 2019, like same draft class as Kyler Murray, and we're still rolling Daniel Jones out there like, well, maybe we can help him improve. Maybe we can Bro, we know he's bad at this point. It's been 5 years or whatever it may be. Like, it's kind of crazy that we're still rolling him out there. Tracy was questionable most of the week. He goes 16 for 66. Not a bad day. On the ground rushing, he just didn't get in the end zone. He didn't get any of the work in the receiving work, so not a great fantasy day. Daniel Jones goes 7 for 54 and a touchdown on the ground. Singletary, he's kind of relinquished that starting role now. He is RB2, the handcuff to Tyrone Tracy. It is Tyrone Tracy's backfield now. Neighbors goes 9 for 59. Theo goes 3 for 51 and a touchdown. Slayton 3 for 49. Wandell 3 for 10. Like I said, just all right fantasy day from some of these assets, but Daniel Jones actually probably had the best fantasy day of all of these guys. Neighbors, he had all the receptions, so in a PPR league, he's getting 9 points off the catches, even though he only goes for 59 yards. But the Giants, they, I don't know. I personally would not think it's a bad idea to throw Drew Lock out there and see what Drew Lock does for you the rest of the year. But maybe they think Drew Lock is actually, maybe they think Drew Lock is better. And if Drew Lock is better, is that going to ruin their draft pick? I don't know. There's a lot to think about that, right? Like, maybe they are trying to go get a better draft pick so they can bring in a Shadur Sanders or bring in a Cam Ward or one of these top quarterback prospects in the class. It's not a strong quarterback class, though. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to go to the Saints and Panthers, and man. Look, dude, Dennis Allen, he got fired. And it was probably about time. The Saints are 2-7. Cam Jordan is on the internet talking about, like, I'm sorry, Saints fans, that you have to see this. Like, we really lost to the Carolina Panthers. They really lost to the Carolina Panthers. And this was Bryce Young's Carolina Panthers. It's just crazy, man. There's another interaction that I had this last week where somebody said to me, because I said I liked the matchup for Alvin Kamara against the Panthers, and they were like, well, why would you play Alvin Kamara? And this is the NFL, man. Any given Sunday, a team can come in and kick your ass. And any given Sunday, it doesn't matter if you have your best players. But they said, why would they play Alvin Kamara when you can literally just beat the Panthers without Kamara? That is not the case, folks. This is the NFL. Anybody, any given Sunday can come in and get that. I just think, look, we saw that, man. So let's talk about this game. We'll talk about the winning team first, the Carolina Panthers. And I see we got some stuff in the chat. Let's actually answer that first. Bradley says, clutch with your take on Zay Flowers. I almost benched him. Hell yeah. Love to see that. Brando says, yo, what up, all? A game for the ages. Anthony says, does that make them better? Does that make who better? Personally. Oh, probably the Drew Lock going to being the starting quarterback for the Giants, maybe. But yeah, look, dude. Bryce Young, 16 for 26, 171, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They said if he keeps playing well, they're going to keep playing him. It seems like they might be turning the team back over to Bryce Young. It was just a weird benching at the time. It's still kind of weird. Is this good enough play? I mean, you win. That's all that matters in the National Football League. But 16 for 170 and a touchdown and an interception. It's not great quarterback play. I just feel like maybe, I don't know. We'll see. It's better for Bryce Young to keep playing football, I think, for this team. Yeah, he's better for them than Andy Dalton. Chuba Hubbard goes 15 for 72, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Great day for him. And then receiving-wise, there's a lot of hype about Jalen Coker going into this game. He goes 2 for 36, not a big day. Leggett goes 4 for 33, finds the end zone. JT Sanders, 4 for 87. They're going to have to figure out what's this team's identity in the back half of the year. After moving Deontay Johnson, trade rumors potentially about a guy like Adam Thielen. They're going to be rolling out Leggett, Coker, Sanders, Chuba, maybe even a guy like Jonathan Brooks. They're going to have to figure out the identity of this roster, but there's a long way to go before this is a competitive football team, but we'll see what happens, man. I'd like to see these guys develop for dynasty purposes, though. JT Sanders, Coker, Leggett, these are all dynasty guys that we're keeping an eye on, so I'm definitely keeping a closer eye on them for dynasty purposes. New Orleans, Derek Carr goes 18 for 31, 236, and a touchdown. Throws a hospital ball. Absolute hospital ball to Chris Olave. Chris Olave takes another hit to the head, ends up getting a concussion in this one. It's like his 4th or 5th concussion at the NFL level. He's taken out on a stretcher. You know, obviously, you don't like to see that, and everything that we've heard so far is that he's good. He traveled home with the team last night. So good for Chris Olave, but it's not great when you see that happen. So if you started Chris Olave, you didn't have a great day. Now, everybody else, though, rushing-wise, Alvin Kamara, he goes 29 for 155. That's what I was talking about. You know, this is a great matchup for Kamara. He didn't get into the end zone. Crazy. It's kind of crazy that he didn't get into the end zone, but he didn't. So he ends up going 29 for 155. In the air, he leads the way, receiving 6 for 60 on 9 targets as well. Taysom Hill involved, got into the end zone. If Chris Olave is out next week, Rashid Shaheed is out the rest of the year, I think Taysom Hill is a sneaky start, man. They're going to use him in the receiving game. They're going to use him in the rushing game. He's going to steal some goal line touches from Kamara at times. He's just sneaky the rest of the way for this team. But everybody else, man, there's just nobody in this offense that you feel super comfortable with if Olave is off the football field. Juwan Johnson, Cedric Wilson, Jordan Mims, Foster Moreau, like Marquez Valdes-Scantling, you know, these are the guys that he's throwing the football to. It's just not great right now for the Saints. And it's, like I said, Dennis Allen got fired this morning, so they're going to be moving on, trying to figure out what they're going to be doing. It looks like all signs are pointing to this blowing up, which the Saints have kind of needed to do that for a while, actually. Cap space hasn't been great. A lot of executives in the NFL, a lot of people who just watch have looked at this roster and said, like, this ain't going to work. They kept pushing it down the road, push it down the road, push it down the road. The time's here. The Reaper came. It's time to blow this thing up, New Orleans. But probably for the better. Let's move on to the next game. We'll go to the Broncos and the Ravens. This was a very interesting game to say the least. The Broncos are 5-4. They lose 10-41. Baltimore 6-3. Lamar goes 16 for 19, 283 touchdowns. Derrick Henry gets 23 carries. We saw a lot of running backs getting a ton of carries this week. Derrick Henry included 106 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. Zay Flowers, you saw it in the chat. Bradley said you're clutch with the Zay Flowers take. He goes 5 for 127, 2 touchdowns in this one. They said Deontay Johnson was going to be on limited snap count. Wasn't even involved really in this game at all. Justice Hill, Nelson Aguilar, really nobody receiving wise involved except for Zay Flowers, who got the majority of the day. So it's Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and that was the show that we got from Baltimore. For Denver, Bo Nix goes 19 for 33, 223, and no touchdowns except for excuse me, sorry folks. I'm still recovering from this sickness. You can probably still tell I'm congested, so I'm fighting through this a little bit, but working through it. I said except for Bo Nix caught a receiving touchdown in this one, which was insane. It was a very aggressive contested catch. He ends up catching that 1 for 2 yards and a touchdown that was thrown by Cortland Sutton. Kind of a fun highlight if you want to go back and see it. If you didn't see it, I'd recommend going to see it because Bo Nix came down with that thing. Javonte goes 12 for 42. Bo Nix 6 for 36 on the ground. His dual threat ability, being able to rush the football and pass the football in games where they're probably playing from behind, it makes him a attractive fantasy football option moving forward. Sutton goes 7 for 122. Javonte 2 for 42. Really nobody else. It's the Cortland Sutton fantasy day for folks that decided to throw him in the flex. But like I said, really no receiving touchdowns for anybody except the quarterback, Bo Nix. And Bo Nix came down with that aggressive catch on that one. Let's move to the next game. We got a couple left, 4 games left. We got this Jaguars and this Eagles game, and this was another. We kept talking about the running backs having big days. We're going to talk about Saquon. He had a big day running in this one as well. The Eagles win 28-23. Jaguars are now 2-7. The Eagles are 6-2. A.J. Brown leaves this game at halftime. He goes into the locker room at halftime, comes out, doesn't even play a snap in the second half, but he walks back into the locker room. They said he had a knee injury, so that's something we're going to be monitoring. He didn't play the rest of the game in this one, but you hate to see that he goes into the locker room for halftime, fine, comes out of the locker room, now I'm hurt, got to go back in, don't play in the second half. That sucks. So we'll keep an eye on that one and keep reports for the rest of the week. We'll see what's going on with that. Brando says, I'm up 28 points and my opponent has Baker. I have Cheats defense. What's the odds I lose? I think you have a good shot. I think you have a good shot of winning, man. I wouldn't be too nervous about it. But look, man, Jalen Hurts, he goes 18 for 24, 230, and 2 touchdowns. Saquon, we said, the running back, 27 for 159 and a touchdown. There's a highlight of all highlights, man. You probably have seen it. It probably hit the internet for you already. You saw it. Saquon Barkley hit a 180 reverse backwards hurdle over a defender. Like one of the craziest shits I've ever seen in my life. You see it right here. Pulls off spin move, incredible reverse hurdle for reverse. Bro, it was insane. Never seen anything like it. It was pretty dope. Jalen Hurts got involved on the ground too, though. 13 for 67 and a rushing touchdown as well. Devontae leads the way, like I said, after A.J. Brown went out at halftime. 4 for 87 and a touchdown. Nasty one-handed snag to get his feet down in that one. Saquon 3 for 40 and a receiving touchdown. AJ 2 for 36. Really, that was it. Brando says show it. I could probably show it. Let's see if we can show it. I just don't want it to play anything from. If I can mute this site, let's see. Oh, we already got it muted. I just don't want it to play the audio. Let's see what we can do. I don't know why it's not clicking. I'm legitimately trying to click on it right now, bro. It doesn't want me to show it. Yeah, I don't know why it's not clicking on it. That's crazy. Anthony says it was crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that it won't let me click on it either. But let's talk about Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence goes 16 for 31, 169, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Etienne and Bigsby back in this one. Horrible backfield right now, man. If these guys are vulturing from each other, stealing from each other, it hurts both of them significantly. Evan Engram goes 5 for 45. Brian Thomas, he was a risky play, man. A lot of people wanted to play him, and rightfully so, but he was a risky play. He goes 2 for 22. There just was nobody from Jacksonville that you were happy with here in this one. It might allow me to... it's still not doing it. I tried. Anthony says it's supposed to be tanking, but Saquon got me to 8-1. Jesus. I mean, ride with it, man. Go with it. But yeah, man, Jacksonville, there was just nobody there that even gave you anything you wanted. So it's unfortunate if you started any Jags, you were unhappy. Bears, Cardinals, disappointing game from the Bears, bro. Like 4-4, 0-4 on the road. Arizona's 5-4. They win 29-9. It's just, it's crazy, bro. Caleb Williams. How do I say this, man? Caleb Williams has been playing some damn good football, but it feels like to me, Shane Waldron, started off the year very bad, very horrible play calling from Shane Waldron. Then they started getting some easy matchups. It seems like Shane Waldron got a little bit more comfortable, started opening the playbook against some bad opponents. And soon as they got in, soon as they got to some tougher opponents again, Shane Waldron just shrunk that playbook down, got right back into the bad play calling. I think they have a coaching issue in Chicago. It's not a talent issue to me. Caleb looks like he's been one of the better. He looks the part to me, man. He looks the part. I don't think it's a talent issue. Obviously, they have a great offense with Swift and Odunze and Keenan and DJ Moore and all of these other guys. Cole Kmet, great defense. They got a coaching issue. Eberflus got to go. Waldron got to go. You got to get rid of these Chicago Bears coaches and reset that. I would love to see Ben Johnson be the head coach of the Bears next year. I think he'd get the most out of this offense. Now, because of that, let's talk about the winning team first, though. Caleb says, Saquon making moves is the same way I juke my wife on the way to the fridge for another cold one. That's insane behavior. Cardinals win. Kyler Murray goes 13 for 20, 154, no touchdowns, no interceptions. James Conner goes 18 for 107. He got his touchdowns vultured by Amari DiMercato and Trey Benson. Now, both of those were longer touchdowns. Benson's wasn't as long, but both of those touchdowns going to the other running backs and not James Conner. That sucks if you started James Conner. Trey McBride goes 3 for 35, and offensively, nobody else really does anything. Marvin Harrison, 2 for 34. It's just crazy because they scored 29 points, but you look at the box score and you say, McBride, bad fantasy day. James Conner, okay fantasy day, but could have been bigger. Whatever. Nobody had a great day. Marvin Harrison, bad fantasy day. I don't know, man. They just score 29 points, and not a lot of it go to our fantasy football teams. Now you go to Chicago. Caleb Williams goes 22 for 41, 217, no touchdowns, no interceptions. DeAndre Swift, 16 for 51, doesn't get into the end zone. He's been getting into the end zone, but he didn't in this one. Rome Odunze leads the way receiving. Just so everybody is aware as well, since the bye week happened for the Bears, every game post-bye week, Rome Odunze has led this team in receiving. So something to keep an eye on. Rome Odunze is kind of slowly taking over as the number one, it almost feels like, in this offense. Keenan Allen, 4 for 36. DJ Moore, 4 for 33. DeAndre Swift, 6 for 31. I'd say pretty much anybody except Odunze and Swift, you really didn't enjoy playing this week. So not a great day from the Bears. Hopefully some better days ahead. Their schedule does get a little bit tougher as we get deeper into the season, so something to keep an eye on. Let's go get to these last couple games. We got the Lions and the Packers here. This was a game that was pretty rainy. It was bad weather. We talked about it on our start-sit stream before the games that this was one that you might not see a ton of passing because of just how much rain and how wet we expected it to be. Jordan Love still goes, for 273 passing yards, but they lose this game 14-24 to the Lions. The Lions look like a team that potentially could be playing for a Super Bowl, man. It hurts me to say that as a Vikings fan, but it looks like they could potentially be playing for a Super Bowl later this year. Jared Goff goes 18 for 22 and a touchdown. on 145 yards. Now, this has kind of been the story of Jared Goff over the last couple of weeks. He's not doing a lot in the air, and they're still winning a lot of good football games just because they're a good team and they run the ball and they play good defense. But Jared Goff, he hasn't been Sorry, folks, trying to fight through these last two without, coughing the whole time. But yeah, he's not throwing a lot of yardage, but they're still winning football games, so what can you really say about it? David Montgomery goes 17 for 73, doesn't get into the end zone, but Jahmyr Gibbs goes 11 for 65 and gets into the end zone. These guys, they're just plug and plays. They're always going to be very efficient. Sometimes both of them will get into the end zone. Sometimes one of them will. It's just the way that this offense goes. Amon-Ra found the end zone as well. Shows up in the Green Bay Sucks hoodie. Goes 7 for 56 and a touchdown. Sam Laporta, 2 for 28. Nobody else really receiving. Jameson Williams will be back for the Lions next week. His suspension will be over, so he'll be back in the lineup, which should help this offense. You'll see less Khalif Raymond and more Jameson Williams. But like I said, the identity of this offense right now is just run the damn football down the opposing team's throats and destroy their will. That's what they do. The Detroit Lions have been doing this, and they've been pretty damn good at it. Now, Jordan Love, like I said, he goes 23 for 39, 273 yards, no touchdowns, an interception. Josh Jacobs goes 13 for 95, no touchdown. Emmanuel Wilson actually gets the touchdown, so not great for him. Jaden Reed leads the way receiving. We liked him the most as the receiver this week, 5 for 113. Still got involved despite the rain, despite the wet weather. That's what you needed if you had Jaden Reed in the lineup. Christian Watson, 3 for 37. It looked like he almost had a touchdown and it got called back. Just nobody else really involved after that. Kraft, 4 for 34. Romeo Doubs, not involved. Dontavion Wicks, non-existent. It just wasn't a great day weather-wise, and it didn't translate to a lot of passing. And the Packers, they're very good at airing the football out and getting a lot of guys involved. And when you have wet, rainy weather, it's hard to do that. But Jaden Reed still had a solid day if you played him. So hopefully you did. We suggested it. He was the guy that I felt the most comfortable with in this receiving room. And Josh Jacobs still had a decent enough day, I guess. But interesting day for the most part from this game. I wanted this one to, for my own selfish reasons, I wish it was clear weather and nice weather, because I think this had the potential for a ton of fantasy football points. But obviously we got the bad weather, and that hindered that pretty much. Bradley, down by 19. I got Baker and Kelsey tonight. Think I'll be good? I think you got it. I think you got that one. I'm up, or one of my leagues, I'm down 10. I need 10 points, and I got Mahomes. I think I got that one too. But last game of the day here, we'll talk about this one, then we'll get on out of here. Rams, Seahawks. This was a good game too. We went to overtime, and look, dude, JSN must have heard me talking shit. JSN heard me talking shit. The Rams, they win this one 26-20. They're 4-4 now. They're kind of on a roll ever since they've gotten a little bit healthier. Puka gets ejected in this one. Bro, that hurt my soul. It was like, you've been injured this whole time. Last week people were debating on whether they should play you or not because you were hurt. Then we all play you, and then you get ejected. My God, brother, what are we doing here? But they still win this one. Matthew Stafford goes 25 for 44, 298, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Kyren Williams still getting it done on the ground. 22 for 69. I guess not getting it done on the ground as much as you'd like to say efficiency-wise, but he's still getting a ton of work on the ground. 22 carries. He's a guy that I'm still comfortable with the rest of the way. Kupp goes 11 for 104. Helps when Puka's out of the lineup. D-Rob, 6 for 94 and 2 touchdowns, and the game-winning one-handed catch to win this game in overtime. Kyren Williams, 1 for 26 in the air as well. Like I said, Puka ejected early, 1 for 11. You hate to see that. But like I said, they won an overtime, man. An overtime catch by Demarcus Robinson. But let's talk about Seattle, because if you had JSN, you're feeling very good about your fantasy football day. Geno goes 21 for 34, 363, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I feel like he does this every week, man, where he'll throw a ton of yardage, he'll throw a ton of touchdowns, and he throws a ton of interceptions. And it's like, this is like almost like Jameis Winston, bro. Like Geno Smith, Jameis Winston, same guy. Kenneth Walker, 25 carries, 83 yards, no touchdown. Zach Charbonnet, 2 for 8. JSN, this is what I wanted to talk about. Let's just get to the good stuff. 7 for 180 and 2 touchdowns. 13 targets. No DK in the lineup. Goes out and has himself a day. I think something like 30-something plus fantasy points in PPR league. I was talking earlier in the week about JSN, and I said, look, man, so far throughout his career, all we've seen from JSN is just like mediocre performances. Like, he's a wide receiver too. Like, he ain't doing too much. Like, I'm sitting here talking shit about JSN, then he goes out here and does this. The usage was very different than we've seen. Throughout the majority of his career, he's been used very short, close to the line of scrimmage, was not used in the intermediate parts of the football field, was not used deep, which has been what he's actually kind of good at as far as separation goes. He's been one of those guys that you want to get him downfield a little bit more often, and they started to do that this game. Now, like I said, it's a one-game sample size. We'll see if they continue with that. If they use him like that, he's going to have a lot more days. Not 180 and 2 touchdowns, but he's going to have days where he's a lot more productive than he's been in weeks past. So we'll see what happens. I'm interested to see what happens when DK gets back in the lineup. If DK's in the lineup, do they pull him back close to the line of scrimmage? That would suck. But we'll see. Maybe they finally unlock JSN, but I feel like we have a large enough sample size now, a year and a half of data, that is just... Is he going to have spike weeks like this, and then we're all going to be like, see, JSN's good, JSN's elite, blah, 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 blah. I don't know, man. I'm nervous a little bit. Anthony says, got Mahomes and Kelsey, need to keep them under 35. Think it happens? Need to keep them under 35. 35 is a lot. I don't know if they'll get 35 from those two. We'll see. But that is the game, man. That's all I really wanted to talk about for the Seahawks is the JSN blow-up game. But we do got a Monday Night Football game tonight. As you guys know, Buccaneers, Chiefs. As I mentioned, I need Mahomes to go over 10 points, and I win my matchup. Let me know if you guys have made it to this point in the video. Let me know in the comments what you need on Monday night to win your matchups. Interested to see those. Hopefully rooting for those for you, as long as they don't contradict what I need to happen in order for you guys to win. But that said, folks, I have nothing else for you today. I appreciate you guys being here. I am going to pump it one more time. Because we're talking about that Chiefs and Buccaneers game, Underdog is giving you a free pick of Mahomes for half a total yard. If he goes higher than this, you win, you cash. The only way that you can get this is by signing up using promo code LeagueFFB. If you sign up using code LeagueFFB over on Underdog, there is going to be a link in the description. You can get $1,000 in bonus cash, up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you sign up using that code. You'll get that Mahomes pick. So if you can't win your fantasy football game tonight, at least win big, win some money over on Underdog on primetime by getting this free pick from Patrick Mahomes. That's the best way to do it. As I said, one more time, use promo code LeagueFFB. That's the best way to get it, and that supports this show. But that said, folks, I have nothing else for you today. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good YouTube stuff. I'll see you on the next episode. But until then, peace out.